yeah, I stopped listening to your stuff a few months ago, and I've been listening to it for like 5 years. He's like, I guess I'm just not really your avatar. And I just like, you know, like,
Yeah.
it's like, dude, you 100% are my avatar. And that's when I went down to the team. I was like, we need to change it all. Like, we have to just talk about business.
This one content mistake almost destroyed my business, and even Alex Hormozi had to learn this. It cost me thousands of dollars before I realized what I was doing wrong. Looking back, it feels so elementary, but I learned this one thing that changed everything. I'll even show you what Alex Hormozi says about this. So if you're creating content to grow your business, you need to hear this. Here's how I came to the realization that I was making a massive blunder. Back when I was running my Google Ads agency, I knew about making content, so I decided to post content on TikTok and YouTube. I didn't really know what to post, so I posted a little bit of everything. I made content about Google Ads. I showed the behind the scenes of me cold calling to get clients. I talked about philosophy. I talked about my day-to-day life. I was consistent. I posted regularly, and I thought I was doing great. But did you spot my mistake yet? Here it is. I was all over the place. One video will be about Google Ads, the next about philosophy, the next about cold calling, the next about my day-to-day, the next about breakfast, the next about waking up early, the next about Google Ads. I was all over the place. I was distracted. I was not focused. So people had no idea what I was trying to do with my content. So with my content being disorganized and distracted, it showed. And here's the kicker. I didn't even notice this until a potential client pointed it out. I cold emailed someone and we got into a call and we started talking about Google Ads and he kept asking me about cold calling. And I was like, I guess I'm a bit confused here. I help people with Google Ads. I'm curious, like, what makes you think, or what's bringing cold calling to top of mind today? And he said, oh, well, I just saw some pieces of your content talking about cold calling, and I just assumed you help people with cold calling. And I was like, okay, wait. Like, I just help people. I just do the cold calling for myself to show people the behind the scenes. And he's like, oh, well, I just happened to see those videos, and I just thought you were the cold calling guy. So it's not the client's fault. It's 100% my fault because I was sending the wrong signals. And here's what I learned is that you can't control what content people see. I was a Google Ads guy in my head, but I was making content that was sending the wrong signals, so people had no idea what I was doing. And if they saw the cold calling content, of course they would assume I'm a cold calling guy. That's my expertise because I'm making content about that. So I can't control what they see, which is where I learned the skill of consistency. I have to have every piece of content pointing at my offer and service and pointing at one of my content pillars, so that it's very focused and very strategic. And no matter what they see, they know exactly what I do. And I potentially lost out on $2,000 per month from this client because they were okay with the budget. They were like, hey, yeah, we're down to go with $2,000, but that was for a cold calling service. They wanted to pay $2K for cold calling. And if I was more strategic, one, I probably could have saved my time and not got on the call. Two, we probably could have ironed out a different price, maybe more for Google Ads, because Google Ads is a little bit of different leverage. Now, this cost me potentially a few $1,000s per month, this mistake, because I was charging people $2,000 per month for Google Ads, and he was down to pay $2,000 per month, but it was for cold calling. So I probably could have saved my time, probably could have ironed out that, hey, we're going to pay $2,000 for Google Ads, and probably gone forward with that. So I lost out on that money because of my content not being strategic. So I won't lie, I felt like a complete loser because it's such a basic mistake to make. But then I learned that Alex Hormozi, one of my heroes, made the same mistake, and he also had to tweak his content strategy. So here's him talking about that.
And so we widened our scope in terms of our content with the intention of, or at least the theory behind it being, if we got more people to see our stuff, then if we catch with a bigger net, then there's still going to be more in absolute. So relatively fewer people in the audience are going to be business owners for me, but a larger absolute amount will be business owners if I go wider. And that wasn't the case. And so after we did that for, I think it was like 3 or 4 months, we just kind of like went pretty wide with the content. I made a college video, I made a relationship video, I made a handful of videos on like philosophy stuff that I'm into. And what happened was the actual objective metrics of the business, our opt-ins went down, book sales went down, but we got more views and more subscribers. And so it's really, really tempting to start getting into the vanity metrics of views, and views, subscribers, followers, whatever. I had a business owner friend of mine, does about $1 million a month, smaller business, and he came in and he was talking to me. And he was like, "Yeah, offhandedly, it's like, yeah, I stopped listening to your stuff a few months ago, and I've been listening to it for like 5 years." He's like, "I guess I'm just not really your avatar," and I just like, like,
Yeah.
it's like, dude, you 100% are my avatar. And that's when I went down to the team. I was like, we need to change it all. Like, we have to just talk about business. And so back to business became the whole theme. And if for those of you who have seen my content, that's what we focused on. So
what was the result of making that change?
Yeah, so once we went back to business, my average views per video dropped in half. But as a result, we didn't have to have nearly as heavily produced stuff. And so it's very much just like me talking to the camera, me with a whiteboard, whatever. And we got more opt-ins on the site, more book sales, which are the two kind of like leading indicators for me downstream for portfolios.
So hearing the GOAT speak about this was very validating because it tells me that big creators and small creators face this problem. So I wanted to really like make this video, maybe just for my younger self, but also for anyone out there that's maybe doing this today, you don't even know it. Like, hopefully this can be your wake-up call that you can just go back, look at your last 10 videos and just audit it honestly and see, like, are they talking about the same thing? If somebody watches the 8th video versus the 3rd, are they going to say that I do the same thing? And if the answer is no, I think that you should fix that. I think that that's something to at least consider and look at more deeply. But if you think that, hey, like, they are going to say the same thing, you're golden. You're better than me. So that's something that I would recommend. So the lesson that I took away from this is that positioning matters. The position you own in your prospect's mind must be stable and it must be consistent. So if you're all over the place, people don't know how to place you in their mind, and that erodes your positioning, and they're not going to think of you when they're finally in the market to buy your offer. So if you're the Google Ads guy and you talk about everything but Google Ads, when they're finally ready to buy Google Ads, they're not going to think of you because they don't even know you do that. And if every third video is about a different topic, you kind of dilute your personal brand, and you no longer are the guy that does the main thing. You're the guy that kind of does a little bit of everything, and that's not the position you want to be in. So here's a couple examples. Imagine Brian Johnson, the guy who's trying to fight death, starts talking about how to save 10% of your monthly income to be debt-free. I mean, that content is valuable, but that's not what his personal brand's about. But imagine if Dave Ramsey, personal finance media company, starts talking about how to exercise more to live longer. Again, super helpful, but not part of his personal brand. So understanding your core message, understanding your ICP, which is the ideal customer profile, and what they value, and making content that helps them is going to build a strong personal brand and own that position in your prospect's mind of who you're the person for. Who are you the go-to for? You're the guy who blank. Don't get me wrong. You can potentially explore other topics. Just make sure that it's within budget. So keep the main thing at least 80, 90% of the time, and leave 10% for yourself. Talk about philosophy, talk about anything you want, but don't confuse your audience. You know, make sure that the main thing is the main thing. I'll give you a corporate analogy about how positioning works, because I think it's worth just reinforcing. But if you think about like Charmin, right, you probably know exactly what the product is, right? If I say Scott, you probably may not. At least we may not be thinking about the same thing, because Charmin owns the word toilet paper. Scott owns multiple things. They own toilet paper, they own paper towels, they own dog pee pads. So it's very, very hard. And if I tell you, hey, go to the store and get me some Charmin, I know exactly what you're going to come back with. You know exactly what you're going to go buy. If you go tell the Target store employee, they're going to know exactly where to direct you. But if I say, hey, go get me some Scott, you're going to be like, what is that? Does he want dog pee pads or does he want toilet paper? You, me, and the store employee are all going to be fucking confused. So that's positioning. You have to own one word or one concept in your prospect's mind and be consistent across your content and all platforms. Somebody that sees you on Instagram and somebody sees you on YouTube should agree that you are who you say you are and that you do this. They should agree that on what you do. You just identify what it is you want to own, the word or concept in your prospect's mind that you want to own, and make sure every piece of content aligns to that. Make sure every piece of content across all platforms align to that and solidify that positioning. And when you keep the main thing, you help your audience trust you more. You help build that position in their mind, and eventually this trust will lead to more revenue, more leads, more sales. So this is helpful. Please leave a like, subscribe. It helps a ton.